All right, welcome boxing fans to another news update. I'm Kurt Ward and I'm joined by Andy Patterson, Adam Smith and Paul Webb, and we're going to be discussing the beautifully titled World War III card by Frank Warren on October the 10th, headlined by Andy Lee defending his WBO title against Billy Joe Saunders. We've also got Terry Flanagan on there against Diego Magdaleno, Liam Smith against Michael Sorrow, and a few other good fights on the card. Andy, quite a few people have been tweeting that this is the card of the year if it all holds together. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's a good card for once from Frank Warren. Got to give him that. As you say, hopefully it stays together. I'm really looking forward to see the Liam Smith against Michel Sorrow fight. I watched Sorrow against Baizan Gorov a couple of years back, and I remember hearing at the time that he was only a part-time fighter, and it did kind of show in that fight that he was, his stamina wasn't great, but he's come back with some good solid victories actually. So I think you've got to make this Sorrow slight favourite, even though he's coming to England. I still think you've got to make him slight favourite. I mean, okay, Glenn Tapia maybe took a bit too much punishment against Kirtland, but still a good win for him. And then he stopped Blandamura in 8 rounds, actually knocked him out. If you remember as well, Billy Joe Saunders actually stopped uh, Blandamura in the same round. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that fight, definitely. It's a shame though, there's no opponents named for Liam Walsh. I really think he needs a big opponent. And Jack Catterall, hopefully he gets a wee step up in class again as well. I really like the look of that guy.
Weren't the opponent? Well, it's not officially signed yet. That Peter Petrov guy I saw mentioned.
Yeah, I've seen it mentioned in some of the forums and on Twitter and stuff, but I've not seen nothing officially yet.
And it's supposed to be like some kind of world title anyway. But I think
He's been fighting the
yeah, it'd be good.
ESPN for a wee while, Petrov. I think he won
Yeah,
that tournament.
and it'd be good to see Liam Walsh in that kind of fight because his career's stagnated a bit. I mean, he's obviously a talented guy. It's just stagnated a bit. He had that car accident when he was supposed to be going in with Ricky Burns, and his career seems to have stalled. But yeah, hopefully this is the start of him being active, and if he can win this fight, he can get a world title shot. I mean, with three WBO titles on the line, Warren's obviously in there. Adam, what are your thoughts on the card as a whole? I mean, is it card of the year if it holds up for you?
Uh, with my well-known Matchroom bias, I would make a strong argument for the May the 31st card, but this one obviously isn't on pay-per-view, as it were, so probably pound for pound, Sterling, it probably is a better, the best card of the year, but there's always a big if it stays together. We've gone through the main event enough times and how it's ended up in this situation, but it remains a very, very good fight for a legit world title. Flanagan, I think, will do. I'm going to probably get his name wrong, but I'll go with Diego. I think he'll do him. He's had 5 fights. It's basically Magdala or whatever his name is has took a while to get back up to this level following his loss a couple of years ago. So I think Flanagan will do that, and I do agree with Frank that Flanagan is underrated. Partly because he's not on Sky, partly because he's not with the hype train. But I think Flanagan, can take that and then go on to the bigger fights with the likes of Derry Matthews, which has been widely reported previously. But we'll move on from that. Liam Walsh is another that's knocking on the door, and I'm most pleased and surprised about Liam Smith. Frank's managed to pull off a world title for him, and at the start of the year, our friends at Ladbrokes normally do a special market where they'll say a fighter to win of a genuine version of a world title in the upcoming year, and I had a bet on Liam Walsh I've got mixed up here, Liam Smith at 8-1. So I expect, although it's a close fight, I expect Mr. Smith to be a lot shorter than 8-1 come fight night. So I'm in with
What's
a
the
good
odds on
run.
that fight, mate?
No, there's no odds
No
on
odds yet, no.
no. I've just had a quick look to be fair. But yeah, that is a close fight, and
Let me know
so
about that one, because I think I want to see what Sorrow's going to come in that, eh?
oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a tough fight. We've seen worse vacant world title scraps. I'm certainly not counting any pennies in regard to my bet. I think Sorrow is a decent operator and probably has the better resume as we stand now. I think we've not seen the best of Liam Smith yet. Home advantage or nearly home advantage is going to count for him. He's obviously of sound mind, or he's obviously of an individual mind. He's not followed everyone else. Around the corner down with the Essex mob. And I think that it'll be Smith's night, but it's going to be a close one. I expect I expect him to be a lot shorter than 8-1. So I've got an 8-1 bet running that looks value at the minute. Jack Catterall, really like him. Hopefully he's in with something decent. Mackham, Lee Mackham's got a fight on the undercard, I think, as well. Is it Blackledge? That'll be a cracker. Both. That'll be a cracker. And then what other one did I was Tom Stalker again? Is it Craig Evans? We saw Craig Evans on May the 31st. He almost threw his fight away against Cordell. Any chance that he did have of winning the fight, he almost threw it away, running around, messing around a little bit. It could be a little bit of a stinker, that fight, Stalker and Evans, in terms of styles, but it'd be interesting while it lasts. So yeah, all in all, great card, and hopefully it all stays together.
Yeah, and Sorrow was, I remember seeing him against Glenn Tapia, where I think most of us expected Tapia to get the job done, and Sorrow was really impressive that night. He looks very strong at the weight, and he can take a shot as well, and obviously he can deliver one. I think this is what fans want, though. They're competitive fights, 50-50 on paper. They're very tough. Even if you fancy Sorrow over Smith, it's still a fight Smith can win. Lee Saunders is obviously a tough one, and Flanagan, I think you'd have to favour him in that fight. But again, they're tough to call, and I think this is what fans need. I mean, Paul, what do you think of the bill?
It's a really good card. 3 really competitive world title fights. I mean, I still haven't picked really a winner in any of the 3. I think it's Frank Warren doing what he used to do best, really. I mean, he's pulled a vacant world title fight for Liam Smith. He's managed to get home advantage for all of his guys. He's even managed to get Billy Joe Saunders in England rather than Ireland, which has got to help him, I think, a little bit. And then what he has done is he's invested quite a bit of money in the undercard. I mean, the Blackledge Markham fight and Evans Stalker, these don't come cheap, really. And he's really stacked the bill. I think he's hoping that they will shift quite a few tickets between them. There shouldn't be any reason why this show shouldn't do decent numbers at the box office. The pricing structure is a little bit high, but we are getting 3 world title fights, so I think that is to be expected. It's something that we've had when he's put on lesser shows and something that Hearn has done in similar shows. So there's a lot of positives. I think it's important that Walsh and Catterall get decent fights. I mean, they're 19-0 and 12-0 respectively. They need to really get on that level now. And if Walsh does get a world title eliminator, we'd have to hope that Warren comes through with him on that, and Catterall gets another sort of building fight. So there's nothing negative you can really say about it. It's WBO Frank Warren back at his best, really.
Andy, Adam, any last thoughts on his card before we move on to another topic?
Let's just hope it stays together, mate. Seriously, hopefully it does stay together.
Yeah, hopefully it stays together, and like Paul said, hopefully it does sell well, because this card deserves it, and it'd be good for Frank to get a really good card and sell tickets, and people to be, happy about the card, and boxing fans as a whole. They're hard to please, and so far so good, but there's still a few more things that need to happen to make sure it's good.
It does deserve it, because the 3 guys in world title fights, they're all reasonably young and can be built upon in the future. All 3 of them, as we've said, going to have the work cut out in some way. We've certainly seen easier world title challengers or defences on these shows, even in the last year. So, good luck to them all. Just on the pricing structure, it's the same price to sit ringside in Manchester on October the 10th as it is to sit in Madison Square Gardens for Mr. Golovkin on October the 17th, just as a side note.
Is that you having your little bitchy comment in there at the end?
Yeah, I'm going to try and get one in at least once a week.
I think, to be fair, the one thing that has been a bit disappointing is you are seeing people, people that we know who book and go to shows all the time, and they're sort of saying, I'm not booking until last minute, or I don't want to reserve. The people are having problems with reserving the hotels because there's so much on in Manchester that day. You've got the Rugby World Cup, you've got, I think it's the Challenge Cup final or one of the Rugby League finals. There's an awful lot going on in Manchester, and the prices are pretty horrendous. So hopefully people do book up and go early. I mean, you're calling a show World War III. That means you're relying on 3 world title fights. If one drops off, you're no longer selling the show you've been advertising. But I mean, Liam Smith, Flanagan, and Billy Joe Saunders, it's rare they seem to pick up injuries or pull out for non-genuine reasons. And Andy Lee's obviously desperate to get this fight on and out the way. So as long as the international guys come in, and I can't see any Top Rank are pretty good with their guys, they tend to deliver them. I can't see any problems. Hopefully.
That's the thing, though. I mean, a lot of fans are out there. They're saying. I mean, I've saw a few say they're not going to buy tickets to the weigh-in, and because this is a Warren show, and they're worried about, they've been burnt before, and they don't want to risk it again. And I mean, it's only just happened recently with the Saunders and Lee fight in Ireland. People have paid for flights and stuff, and now it's been moved. And with it being titled World War Three, maybe Warren's fancying a trick up his sleeve. If they do pull out, you can bring over three German guys and have them against the English guys and still have it as World War Three, and people will fall for it, eh?
Vegan boots or something
Well,
like that.
you can
Yeah.
only hope not. You can only hope that then Liam Walsh gets replaces one of the three, and he's in an eliminator, proper eliminator, and that sort of. You can see ways they can go with this, but none of these guys are in building fights. There's nothing obviously on paper says this should fall apart. It's Frank Warren. Nothing will ever surprise me with him, but this has all the hallmarks for me of the really top level shows he used to put on. Even not even talking that long ago, where you'd have a main event and then you'd have two world title fights on the undercard. And with this, there's no interim, there's no regular. It's proper, genuine world titles, and there's a lot to respect about that.
I think we've all had our piece on that, and yeah, like we've all basically agreed, it's a really good card on paper, and hopefully it'll come together, and it should do, and Bucks fans should be in for a good night there. So I'd like to thank Andy Patterson, Adam Smith, Paul Webb. I've been your host, Kurt Ward. Thanks, and tune in to the next news update and Sunday's podcast. Bye.